Most people don't fail because they lack dreams. They fail because their dreams have no dates. They hope, they wish, they talk, but they never decide when. And without a deadline, a dream becomes a delay becomes a habit, and a habit quietly becomes a lifetime. You see, the future doesn't respond to good intentions. It responds to clear decisions. Success is not something you stumble into someday. It is something you schedule. Because a dream without a deadline is just a fantasy dressed up as ambition. And tonight, we're going to talk about the difference. The difference between people who want a better life and people who build one. The difference between someday and now. Because the moment you give your dream a deadline, life starts to take you seriously. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they keep postponing their lives. They don't say no to their dreams. They say, not now. And that one phrase, someday is the most dangerous word in the human language. It sounds harmless. It feels responsible. It even sounds wise. But someday is a thief. Quiet, patient, relentless. You see, someday doesn't argue with you. It doesn't demand anything. It doesn't challenge your comfort. It simply waits while time keeps moving. And one day, you wake up older, wiser, perhaps, but still waiting. Most people believe they have time. That's the great illusion. They say, I'll start when things calm down. I'll focus on my dream after this busy season. I'll take it seriously next year. But here's the truth. Life does not slow down. Responsibilities do not disappear. And comfort does not loosen its grip on its own. Someday thinking keeps you busy but not progressing. Occupied but not fulfilled. Safe but not satisfied. And the tragedy is this. You can be moving every day and still be going nowhere. Because motion without direction is just exhaustion. Someday thinking creates a false sense of progress. You read the books. You watch the videos. You talk about what you plan to do. But planning without action becomes a hiding place. A way to feel productive without being courageous. And courage is always required to begin. Here's something most people don't realize. Your brain treats undated goals as suggestions. Optional. Negotiable. If there is no deadline, there is no urgency. If there is no urgency, there is no pressure. And without pressure, there is no change. Change requires discomfort. Growth demands friction. And someday, thinking removes both. It keeps life smooth and small. Someday, thinking whispers lies that sound like logic. You need more experience. You're not ready yet. Now isn't the right time. But readiness doesn't come before action. It comes because of action. You don't become confident and then take the step. You take the step, and confidence follows. The danger of someday is not just delay. It's identity. When you postpone your dreams long enough, you begin to see yourself as someone who doesn't finish, someone who almost starts, someone who means well. And once that identity settles in, you stop expecting more from yourself. That's when average becomes acceptable. That's when potential turns into regret. Regret is not loud. It doesn't scream. It whispers at night. You knew better. You could have tried. You waited too long. And the saddest part? Regret is almost always connected to things we delayed, not things we tried and failed. Failure teaches. Delay erodes. Someday thinking also steals your sense of urgency. And urgency is not panic. Urgency is respect for time. It's understanding that life is not endless. That energy has seasons. That opportunity has an expiration date. When you live without urgency, you live as if tomorrow is guaranteed. But tomorrow is a promise no one has been given. People often say, I don't want to rush. But there is a difference between patience and procrastination. Patience is strategic. Procrastination is fear in disguise. Fear of responsibility, fear of commitment, fear of discovering what you're truly capable of. Because once you commit, there's no more hiding. Someday allows you to avoid that moment. The moment where you must look in the mirror and take full responsibility for your future. Here's the truth that changes everything. Dreams without deadlines slowly die, not all at once, but inch by inch, year by year. They fade into what could have been, and I wish I had, and no one plans for that outcome. It just happens when decisions are delayed too long. If you want a different life, you must stop negotiating with time. You must stop treating your dreams as casual interests. They are not hobbies. They are instructions. Instructions for who you are meant to become. Someday is easy. Today is demanding. But today is where power lives. Today is where momentum begins. Today is where dreams either receive life or continue to fade. And here's the question that matters now. How long will you keep giving your future the leftovers of your time? Because every time you say someday, you are making a decision. And every decision, made or delayed, has a consequence. The moment you replace someday with a date, everything changes. But first, you must see someday for what it really is. Not hope, not patience, but a quiet agreement to stay exactly where you are. A dream, by itself, is easy to admire. It feels good to talk about. It sounds impressive when you explain it to others. But a dream without a deadline is comfortable, and comfort never demands action. You see, the human mind responds to necessity, not intention, not desire. Necessity. When something must be done by a certain time, behavior changes, focus sharpens, excuses lose their strength. But when there is no deadline, the mind relaxes. It says later is fine. There's no rush. You've got time. And slowly, urgency disappears. Most people confuse dreaming with commitment. They believe that because they want something badly, they are somehow moving toward it. But wanting is not doing, and hoping is not building. A deadline is what turns a wish into a demand. Without a deadline, a dream makes no demands on your schedule. It doesn't ask you to wake up earlier. It doesn't require you to say no to distractions. It doesn't force you to reorganize your priorities. So life continues as usual, busy, familiar, safe, and the dream waits, quietly. Here's a simple truth. You do what you must do. You delay what you merely want to do. That's why bills get paid on time. That's why appointments are kept. That's why obligations are honored. They come with consequences. Dreams without deadlines come with none, at least none that are immediate. The cost shows up later, in regret, in frustration, in the feeling that life somehow passed too quickly. A deadline creates pressure, and pressure is not the enemy. Unmanaged pressure breaks people, but purposeful pressure builds them. Pressure reveals priorities. It shows you what truly matters. When a dream has a deadline, you start asking better questions. What must I do today? What can I eliminate? Who do I need to become? Deadlines force clarity, and clarity fuels action. Without clarity, energy scatters. You start many things. You finish very few. Most people don't lack discipline. They lack decision. A deadline is a decision made visible. It says, this matters enough to put a date on it. It says, I'm willing to be accountable. Accountability is uncomfortable. That's why many avoid deadlines. Because a deadline removes the option to drift. It exposes excuses. It measures progress. And measurement is honest. When there is no deadline, progress is vague. Effort is inconsistent. Standards are flexible. You can always tell yourself, I'll get serious soon. But soon never arrives. Soon is just someday dressed in nicer clothes. A deadline also changes how you see time. Time becomes valuable. Moments become meaningful. Days are no longer interchangeable. You stop wasting mornings. You stop overindulging in distractions. You start protecting your focus. Because now, there's a clock involved. And clocks create awareness. Here's something important. Deadlines don't limit your freedom. They define it. When you decide when something will happen, you free yourself from endless mental debate. No more wondering. No more negotiating. The decision is made, and decision creates peace. Most people are mentally exhausted, not from doing too much, but from constantly postponing what they know they should do. Indecision drains energy. Commitment restores it. A dream with a deadline begins to shape your identity. You no longer say, I want to. You say, I am working toward. That shift is powerful. It turns dreams into projects. Projects into plans. Plans into daily actions. And daily actions change lives. Some people fear deadlines because they fear failure. They think, what if I don't make it? But failure with a deadline teaches more than comfort without one. You can adjust a deadline. You can refine a plan. You can learn from a miss. But you can't learn from drifting. Drifting feels safe, but it steals years. Here's the truth that separates achievers from dreamers. Achievers respect time. They assign it purpose. They attach dates to their desires. Dreamers admire the future. Achievers schedule it. And once a dream has a deadline, it begins to demand action. It asks for daily effort, consistent focus, improved habits, not because you feel inspired, but because the clock is ticking. And when the clock is ticking, the mind gets serious. So if you want your dream to move from imagination to reality, stop asking how badly you want it. Ask instead, when will this be done? Because the moment you put a date on your dream, you turn it from a hope into a responsibility. And responsibility is where transformation begins. A deadline does something powerful to the human mind. It clears the fog. It sharpens attention. It separates what matters from what doesn't. When there is no deadline, everything feels equally important. And because everything feels important, nothing truly is. But introduce a deadline, and suddenly the noise fades. Focus is born from limitation, not from freedom. When time is unlimited, effort becomes careless. When time is limited, effort becomes intentional. A deadline draws a line in the sand. It says, this is the moment. And the mind responds. You begin to see your day differently. Hours are no longer wasted casually. You ask better questions. What moves me forward? What is unnecessary? What can wait and what cannot? Deadlines simplify decisions. They force you to concentrate energy instead of scattering it. And concentrated energy produces results. Pressure is the next gift of a deadline. Most people try to avoid pressure. They see it as stress, fear, or discomfort. But pressure is not the enemy. Lack of purpose is. Pressure with no direction creates anxiety. Pressure with a clear goal creates power. Think about how people perform when something truly matters. An exam, a presentation, a crucial opportunity. Under pressure, they become resourceful. They find time where none seem to exist. They discover abilities they didn't know they had. That is not coincidence. That is human potential responding to necessity. Deadlines activate necessity. They create a healthy tension between where you are and where you have decided to be. That tension pulls you forward. Without pressure, growth is optional. With pressure, growth becomes required. Pressure demands preparation. It demands organization. It demands discipline. And discipline, practiced daily, becomes strength. Deadlines also protect you from perfectionism. Without a deadline, you can endlessly improve, refine, and delay. You can wait for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect mood. But perfection is often just fear in disguise. A deadline says, start now. It values progress over polish, completion over comfort, and completed work changes lives. Perfect ideas do not. Progress is the final reward of deadlines. Not dramatic leaps, not overnight miracles. Real progress, measurable progress. When you work toward a deadline, you can track effort. You can see movement. You can feel momentum. Momentum builds confidence. Confidence fuels consistency. And consistency compounds. Deadlines turn vague ambition into a series of small, daily wins. One task, completed. One habit reinforced. One step closer. Progress may feel slow in the moment, but it feels powerful over time. Without deadlines, progress becomes emotional. You work when you feel inspired. You stop when you don't. With deadlines, progress becomes structural. You work because it's scheduled, because it's required, because you decided. That is maturity. Deadlines also expose truth. They reveal how you really use your time. They show whether your goals are priorities or just preferences. When a deadline approaches, excuses lose credibility. Reality takes over. And reality, though sometimes uncomfortable, is always useful. You can't improve what you refuse to face. A deadline is a mirror. It reflects commitment, effort, and integrity. And here is something most people overlook. Deadlines don't just create results. They create identity. When you consistently meet deadlines, you begin to see yourself differently. You become someone who finishes, someone who follows through, someone who can be trusted by others and by yourself. That self-trust is priceless. Many people suffer not from lack of talent, but from broken promises to themselves. Deadlines repair that damage. Each deadline met restores confidence. Each deadline honored strengthens character. Focus sharpens. Pressure builds strength. Progress proves capability. This is not about rushing. It's about respecting time. It's about deciding that your dreams deserve structure, that your future deserves urgency, that your potential deserves action. A dream without a deadline is a hope. A dream with a deadline is a plan. And a plan, acted on daily, changes everything. So don't ask if deadlines are restrictive. Ask if drifting is acceptable. Because in the end, deadlines don't limit your life. They give it direction. Not all deadlines are equal. Some inspire action. Others create resistance. And many exist only on paper, ignored the moment life gets uncomfortable. A deadline only works when it is designed correctly. Most people fail with deadlines not because they lack discipline, but because they set them poorly. They choose dates that are either too vague or too unrealistic. They set deadlines emotionally, not strategically. A working deadline is not a wish. It is a decision backed by structure. The first principle is clarity. A deadline must be attached to a specific outcome, not a feeling, not a general intention. Work on my dream has no deadline power. But complete the first draft by March 30 does. Clarity removes interpretation. It tells your mind exactly what winning looks like. When the outcome is clear, the brain begins to organize automatically. It looks for patterns. It allocates energy. It plans without being asked. Vague deadlines invite procrastination. Clear deadlines demand engagement. The second principle is realism. A deadline should stretch you, but not break you. If the deadline feels impossible, the mind rebels. It shuts down. It delays. It avoids. If the deadline feels too easy, the mind relaxes. Urgency disappears. The right deadline creates productive tension, not panic, not comfort. Ask yourself, does this require me to grow? Does this require consistency? Does this require sacrifice? If the answer is yes, you are close. The third principle is breaking the deadline into smaller deadlines. Big deadlines intimidate. Small deadlines mobilize. A year-long goal without checkpoints feels distant, but a weekly target feels immediate. Turn one deadline into many. Daily actions, weekly milestones, monthly reviews. Each small deadline creates momentum. Momentum keeps motivation alive. Progress fuels progress. The fourth principle is attaching deadlines to habits, not moods. Many people wait to feel ready. They wait for inspiration. They wait for confidence. Deadlines that work are immune to emotions. You don't negotiate with them. You schedule around them. Treat your deadlines like appointments. You don't cancel appointments because you're tired. You don't reschedule because you're uninspired. You show up because it matters. When deadlines are connected to discipline instead of feeling, consistency becomes possible. The fifth principle is visibility. A hidden deadline is a weak deadline. Write it down. Post it somewhere visible. Say it out loud. Visibility creates accountability. The mind takes seriously what it sees repeatedly. Each time you look at the deadline, you reinforce its importance. You remind yourself, This matters. This is who I'm becoming. The sixth principle is consequence. A deadline without consequence is a suggestion. There must be a cost to ignoring it and a reward for honoring it. The consequence doesn't have to be dramatic. It just has to be meaningful. Extra work, lost privileges, public accountability. And the reward doesn't have to be extravagant. Progress itself is powerful. What matters is that the deadline has weight. Weight creates commitment. The seventh principle is review and adjustment. A working deadline is firm, not fragile. You don't abandon it at the first obstacle, but you do evaluate it honestly. If circumstances change significantly, you adjust intentionally, not emotionally. You ask, am I avoiding discomfort? Or am I making a strategic correction? There is a difference. Discipline is not rigidity. It is intelligent persistence. The eighth principle is identity alignment. Deadlines work best when they match who you are becoming. If you see yourself as inconsistent, deadlines feel like pressure. If you see yourself as committed, deadlines feel like support. Each deadline you set is a vote for your future identity. Set deadlines that reflect strength, not avoidance. Finally, understand this. Deadlines are not about control. They are about respect. Respect for time. Respect for potential. Respect for the life you want to build. You don't set deadlines because you are harsh. You set them because you are serious. Serious about growth. Serious about progress. Serious about becoming more than you were yesterday. A dream deserves more than hope. It deserves structure. And structure begins with a deadline that works. Not someday. Not eventually. On a date you decide and honor. There is a quiet difference between people who dream and people who finish. Both may have talent. Both may have desire. Both may start with hope. But only one develops urgency. Urgency is not panic. It is not stress. It is not rushing. Urgency is clarity with commitment. It is the internal understanding that time matters, that today counts, that delays have consequences. When you live with urgency, your identity begins to shift. You no longer see yourself as someone who tries. You become someone who completes. Deadlines do more than organize tasks. They shape character. Each time you meet a deadline, you cast a vote for a new identity. Each time you honor your word to yourself, confidence grows. Confidence is not loud. It is earned. It comes from proof, from evidence, from keeping promises when no one is watching. This is how urgency reshapes identity. You stop asking, can I do this? You start saying, this will be done. Habits change next. Urgency eliminates wasted motion. You become selective with your time, careful with distractions, intentional with energy. You begin to notice how much time was leaking away. Unplanned conversations, endless scrolling, tasks that felt productive but led nowhere. Urgency exposes truth. And once you see the truth, you cannot unsee it. Disciplined people are not stricter. They are clearer. They know what matters. And they act accordingly. This clarity attracts better results. Opportunities tend to follow completion. People trust finishers. They trust those who deliver, those who follow through, those who do not need to be reminded. When you finish consistently, doors open quietly, not through hype, through reliability. Employers notice, partners respect it, life responds to it. Urgency also changes how you handle pressure. Without urgency, pressure feels overwhelming. With urgency, pressure feels purposeful. You stop asking, why is this happening? You ask, what needs to be done? Emotion gives way to execution. Urgency simplifies decision-making. You don't debate endlessly. You decide, act, adjust, and move forward. This rhythm builds momentum. Momentum builds belief. Belief builds resilience. And resilience keeps you moving even when results are slow. Living with urgency does not mean working nonstop. It means working with intention. Rest becomes deliberate. Breaks are strategic. You recover so you can return stronger. Urgency honors both effort and recovery. Another shift occurs internally. You stop romanticizing the future. You stop saying, one day things will change. You realize that change only respects action. Deadlines anchor dreams to reality. They turn imagination into movement, movement into habit, habit into identity. This is how dreams become completed realities. Not through brilliance alone, but through follow-through. There is a deep satisfaction in finishing. It is quiet. It is steady. It stays. Finishing builds self-trust. And self-trust is the foundation of confidence. When you trust yourself, fear loses power. Doubt weakens. Excuses dissolve. You know who you are because you have evidence. The most powerful moment is when you realize you cannot go back. Once you experience life as a finisher, the old way feels empty. Procrastination loses its appeal. Vagueness feels uncomfortable. Drifting feels unnatural. Urgency becomes normal. Not because you are anxious, but because you are aligned with your goals, aligned with your values, aligned with the person you are becoming. Deadlines taught you discipline. Discipline taught you confidence. Confidence taught you to finish. And finishers live differently. They walk with certainty. They speak with calm assurance. They act without needing approval. They understand that life rewards completion, not perfection, not intensity, completion. When you live with urgency, you respect your future. You stop stealing from tomorrow to comfort today. You become someone who finishes and stays finished. This is the point of no return. Once urgency becomes your identity, dreams stop being wishes. They become timelines. And timelines, honored daily, create a life that moves forward. It never goes back. Let me leave you with this thought. Your dreams are not fragile. They are patient, but patience has a limit. Life does not respond to intentions. It responds to action, and action responds to deadlines. If you want your life to change, stop waiting for more motivation. Give your dreams a date. Give your goals a timeline. Give your future a sense of urgency. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Now. Because the day you stop drifting is the day you start becoming. And remember this, success is predictable. It's not luck. It's not magic. It's discipline. Practice daily. Finished on time. Decide today to become the person who finishes